Welcome to House Talk, with maintenance tips unique to the retreat at Banning Lewis Ranch, with your host, Doug Bowman. Today we're going to discuss several misconceptions about reverse osmosis systems. I hear residents talking about replacing RO filters because the flow is getting weak. While this sounds like a logical solution, I will tell you that the three most common problems with RO systems have nothing to do with the filters, but it's the first thing that homeowners assume will solve their problems. Now, normally I give you do-it-yourself instructions in my videos, but today we're going to be doing two things. We're going to discuss at a high level how an RO system works, and then we're going to discuss the most common problems that you'll see. Are you ready? Here goes. First, water comes into your house at city water pressure, usually 55 to 80 psi. The reverse osmosis system taps into the cold water piping below your sink. In addition to the one for your kitchen sink faucet, there should be a dedicated shutoff valve just for your RO system. The water goes through lots of filters. You can get an RO system with 3, 4, 5, or more filters. There are pre-filters, charcoal filters, membranes, and even post-filters. Don't worry about those now. Just know that forcing the water through these filters takes a lot of pressure. In fact, if this was all there is to the system, this is how fast the water would flow out of the faucet, and nobody has patience for that. That's where a storage tank comes in. These tanks can store several gallons after the water makes it through all those filters. Not only do they hold several gallons of filtered water, but they build up pressure as they slowly fill. In fact, it's the storage tank that drives the water up and out of the faucet, not the water coming through the filters. To demonstrate, watch as I completely turn off the incoming water to the system and open up the RO faucet with just the storage tank in service. Whether you have brand new clean filters or years old dirty filters, the pressure and volume of water you get out of your faucet is primarily based on the health of your storage tank, not your filters. Unfortunately, most people think flow problems must mean clogged filters, and that's what they tell the serviceman. And then he quotes you a price to replace perfectly good filters, and then he charges you extra to repair the tank, which was the problem all along. Now, as I said, this is an extremely simplified description. In reality, there's several other components that can go bad. So let's talk about the three most common problems with an RO system, how to recognize them, and what can be done. And as I said earlier, none of them have anything to do with the filters. First, the most common problem is a continuously leaking drain line. RO systems use water to make water. That is, for every 3 gallons of clean filter water made, they may discharge another half gallon or so of dirty water. That discharged water, by design, drips into your sink drain piping or your garbage disposal drain line. It's usually black in color. You can see it here, tapping into an existing white drain pipe. Under normal operation, once the clean filtered water fills the storage tank, the system automatically shuts off and all water stops moving. During this filtering process, you may hear the discharging water dripping into your sink drain, and that's normal. What's abnormal is that the draining into your sink never stops. You can hear the dripping in the sink 24/7. This is a sign of a failed component called an automatic shutoff valve. Replacing this component will stop the excess of dripping and will save you from wasting water. And the best part is that you can search and find it on Amazon, and it's usually under $10. So if it's been several hours since you last got water from your RO faucet, go listen at the kitchen sink drain. If you can still hear it dripping, you need to have your automatic shutoff valve replaced. You're wasting water. The second most common problem is the loss of air pressure in your storage tank. Yes, I said air pressure. My RO tank holds about 3 gallons of filtered water, but the total volume of the tank is 4 gallons. So what's in the rest of the tank? Actually, it's an air balloon, or a bladder. Air is compressible, water not so much. So as water enters the tank from the filters, it compresses the air in the bladder and causes a pressure rise. When the pressure reaches the design pressure, the automatic shutoff valve we discussed earlier senses this and shuts off all the water movement in the system. This pressurized bladder becomes the driving force to push the water up and out of your RO faucet when called to do so. Here's what the normal flow looks like when the storage tank is fully pressurized. I'm going to speed this up for you. I'll go back to normal speed now. Watch for when the storage tank is fully drained of water. You'll see a rapid drop in flow. There. This slower flow rate now is purely the flow being pushed through the filters by the city water pressure after the tank is discharged. What I want you to understand is that you should get several gallons of water from your system. If you have an early reduction in faucet flow or are getting only a few quarts or even cups of water, this has little to do with how clean or dirty your filters are. It's most likely the storage tank bladder that's the problem. So what does a bad storage tank look like? Most bladders have an air pressure rating when they come out of the box. Mine's between 5 and 7 psi. Yours might be slightly different. If it doesn't say on the tank, you can usually find it online by using your model number. If the bladder air pressure is 0 pounds, this is what it looks like. Water flows strongly for a second or two and then quickly trickles. Here, if the water pressure is low, water flows moderately for a time and then trickles. The tank's capacity is never reached. And if the air pressure is too high, the flow will stay strong, but the capacity will be less because less water is allowed to enter the tank because of the high pressure. Too high of a pressure can result in the rupture of a bladder. If this happens, air may occasionally blow out the faucet and water will come out of the air fitting at the bottom when opened. If that happens, you're buying a new tank. But don't worry, most big box hardware stores have them on the shelves for about $50. Recharging a bladder can be done by most do-it-yourselfers. The tank has to be fully drained of water first. You'll need an air pump, and to be safe you should use a low-pressure air gauge, like 0 to 20 psi, so you can accurately get a reading on the required low pressure. If you look at these two gauges, they both read 10 psi, but the low-pressure gauge is much more accurate. You can get one of these on Amazon for about $10. Lastly, the third common problem are leaks. If a leak's coming from one of your filter housings or components, it's best to call a pro. To stop the water from getting all over, close the valve on the top of the storage tank and turn off the RO under the sink at the water shutoff valve. By the way, the use of water alarms is always a good idea. They've saved me a few times. If the leak comes from a hose connection, you may be able to easily fix the leak. ROs use 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch plastic tubes with either compression or quick connect fittings. Compression fittings may stop with a little extra snugging up. Plastic tubing that uses quick connect fittings can be taken out, recut, and then reinserted in a matter of seconds to solve the problem. Here's an example of a quick connect fitting repair. First, remove the safety collar, if there is one. Push the collet ring inward, and then wiggle out the plastic tubing. You can either replace the fitting or you may be able to fix the leak by just cutting off the tip of the tube and reinserting it again. Now, even though these are the most common problems observed on RO systems, it doesn't mean that you should ignore filters in the membrane completely. People who sell filters will tell you the sooner the better, but a fixed frequency doesn't fit everyone. Obviously, a family of 6 will need to change their filters sooner than a family of 2, and snowbirds may even change them even less. Your sensors are always the best guide. Is the water cloudy? Does it have an odor? Does the tank take way longer than normal to fill? These are all signs that it may be time. And if you're going to go through the hassle of replacing the filters, replace them all, including the membrane. It's worth it. Well, hopefully this information will help you the next time your RO system acts up. If you like, go ahead and leave a comment below. And as always, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button.